Hey guys, it's Craig again and welcome to another Life Success Factors video. Hopefully you're doing well today guys, and I just want to start by saying it's such an honor, it's a privilege to be able to talk to you guys today about what it takes to become a better consultant. So guys, if you don't already know, I run a blog over at www.lifesuccessfactors.com and I release videos on a weekly basis where I delve into how you can achieve success in all areas of your life. And today's video will focus on how you can become a better consultant. So this will focus on your career, your business. Maybe you work for a consulting firm, or maybe you run your own consultancy, and I'm going to go over a few tips for how you can become a better consultant. So stay tuned guys. Please subscribe to my channel, like the video if you like it, and leave a comment down below to let me know what you thought about it and if you agree with the things that I'm going to share with you today. So the number one way I think how you can become a better consultant, or at least one of the first things and the easiest things you can do, is actually become more organized. Now I've done a video guys on how you can become more organized in your life, and I've also done a video on how you can use certain tools like Evernote to be more organized. But I think being organized is one of the easiest ways for you to improve your skill set as a consultant. So as a consultant, you need to be on top of not only your business, but also your client's business, right? Now you can't do that unless you know exactly what you need to do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis. Okay, you need to have a plan. And one of the easiest things you can do, okay, to make sure that you're able to hit all of your goals and targets is actually to plan correctly. Okay, you want to be thinking about not only today, but where do you want to get to in a year's time, in 5 years' time, right? And so if we just think about how you can be more organized in your own career or your own business, okay? We'll get to your client's business in a little while, but if you want to be more organized in your own business or in your career, one of the first things you want to do is you actually want to think about, okay, what does the next year look like for me? And the reason I choose a 1 year time horizon is that I think you can actually achieve a whole lot in a year. But to be able to do that, I think you need to be able to set some goals, right? Now, I've done a video on what's called SMART goals, and I'll link to it down in the description below. But essentially, SMART goals are, as the acronym says, they're very smart because they follow these really simple steps. Okay, they are specific. Okay, they are measurable. Okay. They're action oriented, they're realistic, and they're timely, okay? So SMART, 5 aspects to a great goal, right? Let's focus on that first aspect, specific. So you want your goal to be very specific, okay? Now, it's all well and good to say that in a year's time, I want to be a better consultant. But what does that mean? It's not very specific, okay? By being a better consultant, what does that help you achieve, right? Can you quantify it? Can you qualify it in some way? I want to be, instead of saying I want to be a better consultant, I want to be a better consultant in the area of health and wellness. I want to be a better consultant in the area of, outdoor gardening, for example, or I want to be a better consultant in the area of IT. So you want to be very specific, you want to be targeted, okay? Now the second aspect of it is that you want it to be measurable, because I truly believe that whatever gets measured gets improved. And so in order to have a really smart goal, you want to be able to quantify it somehow. And look, using our previous example, you can, for example, say, I want to be a better consultant by achieving a higher grading at my end of year review, okay? Or I want to be able to grow my business by $100,000 over the next 12 months. Or I want to achieve a revenue, or I want my consulting business to achieve revenue of, let's say, $1 million by the end of the next 12 months. So you're being really specific, okay? You've quantified your goal, okay? Now the other part of the acronym, actionable, right? Now what are you going to do to be able to achieve that, right? Let's use the example of growing your business by, let's say, $100,000 in revenue over the next 12 months. I'm going to grow my business by $100,000 over the next 12 months by specifically reaching out to target companies in my industry, okay? So you've tacked an action to it. Now, that's really good because it actually gives you focus. So not only are we quantifying and being really specific about our goal, but we're actually tacking on an action, okay? And there's something we can do. Instead of just saying, I want to grow it by X amount, we're saying, I want to grow my revenue by X amount by doing something. And it's that doing, guys. It's all well and good to plan, as one of my mentors says. And if you're watching, you know who you are. It's all well and good to plan, but what gets results is action, taking action. And I'll do another video on this, but taking imperfect action is always better than taking or just doing nothing at all, right? So we've tacked on an action to it, right? Now the fourth part, it has to be realistic. Now think to yourself, if you're making maybe a couple of $1,000s doing whatever you're doing, is it realistic to expect that in the next 12 months you're going to achieve, let's say, $100,000 in revenue or $1 million, okay? You got to think about, well, you got to do a little bit more thinking. What is realistic for me to achieve? Let's say you had revenue of $2,000 over the last year, okay? Is it realistic to expect that you're going to increase that by 50 times to $100,000 in the next 12 months? Perhaps not. Maybe what is more realistic if you can increase that to, let's say, $10,000, so 5 times more, or $20,000, okay, 10 times more. So think through these things, because by making your goal realistic, it'll actually be easier to achieve. And what you might find is that on your way to achieving that more realistic goal, you might actually overshoot it, which will allow you to, quite ironically, reach for a much higher goal. So that's one of the tips I can give to you guys, is actually be really realistic about it. And don't be afraid of setting a target that's is lower than what we would really hope for, only because sometimes it's better to get that momentum than to have something that's really unrealistic and that you can't target because you get discouraged because you're not making enough progress. And so you want to ground that goal in reality, okay? And the last part, guys, of the SMART goal acronym is you want it to be time bound. Now, we've already set our goal for 12 months, but maybe you want to break this goal down into, let's say, monthly chunks or quarterly chunks. It's quite okay to do that. Sometimes it's actually easier to focus on smaller time horizons because it gives you more immediate feedback, okay? So let's say you've determined that it's realistic to achieve, let's say, $100,000 in revenue over the next 12 months, but you're 6 months in and you've only achieved $20,000. You're not even halfway there, yet you're already halfway through your time period. So what you can do is you can actually break your goal down into quarters, and let's say, 3 months in, I need to be hitting $25,000. 6 months in, I need to be at $50,000. And if you're at the 3 month mark, and let's say you're only at $20,000, you can actually say, well, okay, I'm actually making good progress, but maybe there's something else that I need to do to get myself back on track. Or maybe, you're at the 3 month mark and you're actually at $50,000, and you go, well, you know what? It's a lot easier than I expected. And you can review your goal and you can say, well, instead of trying to hit $100,000 at the end of the 12 months. Maybe a better target might be $150,000 or $200,000. But you've got to be able to have that baseline there. And guys, it's always better to start with something than to start with nothing at all. So, you always want to be reviewing your goals. You always want to be assessing whether you're making enough progress and the right progress towards your goals to be able to achieve them, to be able to, actually receive that satisfaction that, you are moving forward, you are achieving your goals, and, you are delivering value. So I know that was a little bit long-winded, guys, but that's one of the ways you can stay more organized is to plan. There are a number of sort of tools that I use to help me plan as well, guys. And as I've said before, I use Evernote. Evernote is a really good tool because you can basically take all of your notes with you. And I have basically a different workbook, a different diary or virtual diary for every aspect of my life. So for my business, Life Success Factors, I've got a virtual diary in there, and it has a number of, subsections, which allow me to categorize my notes by, let's say, upcoming blog posts or video ideas. And what I do, guys, is I have a MacBook, and I simply, sometimes of a night, I'll sit down and I'll plan. And, during the day when I'm out and about, I can actually have my notes with me on my phone, and I can actually refer to them and update them, put down some of my thoughts. For example, let's say I came up with an idea for a video. I actually came up with the idea for this video while I was out on my morning walk today, and I used Evernote to jot it down, to note it down. And I came home and I, instead of forgetting about it, I actually had it there, and I had it readily accessible. So guys, that's the one area, the first area, the probably easiest area of becoming a better consultant is to be more organized. So the second way that you can become a better consultant, guys, is to be more attuned to your clients' needs. Now, I think this goes without saying, but you truly, as a consultant, okay, you're only as good as the success that you're able to bring to your client. So, and it's the only way that your business can be sustainable is if you're consistently delivering value and if you're consistently kicking goals, essentially, for your client. So, and the way to do that, guys, is to actually understand what your client needs. There's no point dreaming up this grand scope for your client if it's not actually what they want. If they want, for example, a specific IT system rolled out in the next 6 months, and you're there to help them project manage that whole process, there's no point planning for a 12-month rollout if a 6 month time frame is what they're after. Quite equally, if you're a personal trainer, guys, there's no point trying to teach a client, let's say, how to lose weight by lifting weights, if that's not something that they want to do. If they're only interested in, let's say, using cardiovascular exercise like running or high intensity interval training, guys, I'm not a medical professional, so excuse me if I'm getting the terms slightly confused, but what I'm trying to say is that if they prefer not to use weights and you try and force them to use weights to lose weight, then it's probably not going to be the best outcome for them, because they may not like lifting weights, or they may not want to put on muscle. They may simply just want to lose weight, and they're quite happy to run or jog. So you've got to really focus and tailor your program to the outcomes that your client is seeking, and also how they want to do it. So I think that's really important. And so you need to be, one of the key skills that you need to have is that you need to be adaptable. And as a consultant, you need to be able to craft your ability to deliver value through your ability to, augment your skills and your approach to the situation. And I think that's one of the easy ways. Perhaps not so easy in certain situations, but It's truly about being attuned to your client and how they want to achieve their goals and how they want to achieve their outcomes. If you can do that, you'll keep your client happy. You'll also enable them to, to become a repeat customer essentially, and that's great. And I think that it'll be a boost for your business, because there's no better way of having a sustainable business than by having a sustainable customer base, a sustainable client base where they consistently see the value in what you offer them. And I think it's a win-win for you and for your client. And the third way you can become a better consultant, guys, and the reason I've put it third is that I think I'll tell you what it is. You need to sharpen up your technical skills. Now, the reason it's third is that while some people think this is the most important thing for becoming a better consultant, I actually think it's less important than we think it is, right? It's definitely important. But essentially what I mean by technical skills, I mean how good are you at framing a problem? How good are you at planning? How good are you at using spreadsheeting software? Okay, so if you're a consultant, you're dealing with numbers, you're dealing with timelines, progress, scope. You've got to be really attuned with the technical details and the finer details, guys. Now, I'll tell you a story about me when I first started work or my career. I was very, very fortunate to be able to land a job, okay, as a professional at a time. This was, I think, in 2014, when, I've got to be honest, there weren't a whole lot of professional jobs going in my area of expertise, which was engineering. And I was so fortunate to be given an opportunity at a multinational corporation to work within one of their most interesting departments. And I really struggled at the start, because I hadn't had that opportunity, I suppose, to undertake multiple internships. I certainly did a couple of stints, as a sort of a professional trainee and as an engineering cadet, but I don't think I was prepared for this role. Now, one of the things that it required was incredible attention to detail. And I've always sort of prided myself on focusing on the finer details, whether it be through, high school, university, doing really well through my sort of academic studies. But this was a whole nother level, okay? This was, clients are obviously paying for our expertise and time, and we needed to deliver. And I recall a couple of instances where I wasn't able to grasp the details in a sufficiently appropriate period of time. And I remember being in a client call, and the client was basically asking us all of these questions, and I was tasked with this task, and I wasn't able to answer them. And the reason I wasn't able to answer them was that I wasn't across the detail. My technical skills just weren't that mature. And I think that was probably one of the pivotal moments in my early career, where I said to myself, to get better, to be able to progress, to become a better consultant, I needed to focus on that area of being really attuned to the work that I was doing. Okay, there was no point glossing over the top. I was already good with sort of working with spreadsheets, but it required more than that. It required me to ask more questions about what, let's say, the data was telling us, okay? And be able to draw conclusions to that, okay? Now, one tip that I'll give a lot of young consultants out there is that it's all well and good to be able to, put a model together or, run some numbers in a spreadsheet, but you've got to delve down deeper. You've got to get into the details. You've got to understand why your model is telling you what it is. What's the story there, okay? And I use this concept called storyboarding, and different people use it in different ways, but everything tells a story, okay? And when you're communicating complex ideas, when you're communicating certain concepts, it's always easier to be able to communicate it using a story. So, for example, if you're working on a cost-benefit analysis, right, and you've got different scenarios, and that cost-benefit analysis is spitting out, 3 different versions of the truth, you've got to understand why it's doing that, okay? So you've got to be able to frame the answer in a way that makes sense. So, when you explain what the answer is, your audience automatically knows why, and it's because you've taken them on a bit of a journey by explaining the chronology of how you got to that answer. So guys, and that coming back to why you need to improve your technical skills, you need to be able to not only get to the answer, but you need to be able to understand how you got to the answer. And I think that's probably a more advanced skill. So for the younger viewers watching this video, guys, focus on the details, yes, but also understand the details behind the details. And that's probably as simply as I can put it. And this video could be a completely new video, but focus on the details, and focus on the details behind the details is something that will allow you to stand out from your peers. It'll allow you to progress quicker up the organization, and be promoted, because people will give you increasing levels of trust and responsibility because you're able to deliver insights. It's not as someone told me, it's not good enough to be able to just provide an answer. You've got to provide an insight. So why is something the way it is, right? So if the answer is 10, why is it 10? And could it be a different number if you did something else? That's the level that you want to get to. And going even further than that, if the number is 10, then what is the implication and what do we need to do about it? That's sort of taking it to another level. So I'll certainly do another video on that, guys, and on how you can sort of improve your logical reasoning and ability to draw conclusions, and also to provide a path forward. That's a consulting skill that I think is highly valuable, and a lot of organizations out there will actually do pay for that expertise, because it's not a linear thinking process. It's not a linear, you can't sort of just rely on a spreadsheet or a computer program to give you the answer. It requires a lot more nuance. So technical skills are important, guys, going back to our topic of how you can be a better consultant. But it's way more important than just being able to use a piece of software, as simple as if I could distill that down. Okay, guys, and the fourth way for how you can become a better consultant is to work on your relationships. Now, this isn't as important. It's still important, guys, as when you're a younger consultant, but as you progress through your career, your ability to deal with different types of people, to be able to communicate complex ideas to different types of people, will become increasingly more important. And your ability to influence outcomes comes down to the level of relationship that you have with different people, with your clients, with your stakeholders, with the people that sort of are in the periphery of the work that you're doing, but can have a potentially profound impact on the outcome. Now, the way I've approached relationships, and to be honest, it's not something that comes to me innately. And one of the things that my mentor tells me, he's actually incredibly good at building relationships, is that you want it to be natural. You can't be a robot about it, and it's not something that you can study for. Okay, so the way you become better at building relationships is actually be more. This is going to sound really weird, but you can't be too formal and rigid. Okay, think about the relationships, that you have with your friends. Okay, are they rigid and formal, or are they relaxed and really informal? Okay, if it's the latter, then the way you build relationships, strangely, in the workplace is actually through connecting more on a personal level. Okay, so the things that you want to be doing is you want to be interested in the other person genuinely. You know, you don't want to be disingenuous about inquiring about, you know, how they're doing. How's your weekend? Is a really, really simple way for starting to build that relationship with someone. You know, if you've ever been in a meeting, for example, you'll notice that at the start of a meeting, especially in sort of Western business culture, is that we ask people about, well, how was your day? Or what did you get up to on the weekend? Did you catch the game? You know, it's these questions about, you know, without prodding too much, about someone's sort of personal life, what they do in their spare time. It allows you to learn more about that person. It allows you to connect with them on a level that's not just about, you know, transacting through, you know, like through a business context. Because to be able to transact effectively through a business context, you actually have to have more of a personal connection with someone, I found. And so you want to be able to communicate on that level where you're effective and you are able to influence rather than just communicate. You want to be able to know something about that person, to convey your message in a way that is tailored and appropriate to your audience. And so going back to my example, guys, you know, small talk is important. But it has to be genuine, and you've got to have an interest in the other person. You know, I've done a video recently, guys, and go check it out if you'd like, on, you know, the importance of giving as opposed to expecting something in return. And, you know, I suppose when you exchange, you know, your thoughts on, you know, what you did on the weekend, it's more about sort of connecting with that other person and making them feel welcome. And through making them feel welcome, well, you can actually achieve a better business outcome because they're more in tune with what you have to say, and they'll probably be more conducive to helping you rather than, you know, sort of being a silent bystander. And guys, the fifth way and the final way, I know this video is probably touching half an hour, but the fifth way, or the last one that I'll talk to through in this video, is actually by mentoring others. So the fifth way for how you can become a better consultant is by mentoring others, okay? Mentoring others. Now, I've done a lot of videos in the past about the benefits of giving and the importance of mentorship, but I think this is actually vitally important. This can actually be sort of closer to number one. So the benefits of mentoring someone, I believe, guys, is really understated, and there are so many benefits that you get from mentoring someone, okay? So linking this back to why it's so important to becoming a better consultant is that you're able to, when you're able to teach someone about how to go about doing a piece of work, about conveying a new type of technical skill to someone younger than you, you're actually refining your ability to do that exact same thing, okay? For example, I've given you 5 ways about how you can become a better consultant today, all right? By being able to write this down, okay, I've got a notebook here. I've been able to write this down and I've been able to convey it to you, okay? Now, what that's done for me is that it's actually reinforced these 5 things in my mind, okay? So tomorrow when I go to work, I'm gonna say to myself, okay, I need to be more organized. Well, I talked about how to be more organized, and so I'm gonna be more attuned with how can I convey, or how can I be a better consultant by being more organized? Okay, well, I've got to think about my goals, right? And I've got to think about, well, how do I become more organized through setting better goals, through setting smart goals? You know, how can I start using Evernote more, or how do I use it more effectively? So by going through this process, by where you're teaching someone, where you're mentoring someone, I truly believe that you actually get better at that skill, as strange as that sounds. But I think, you know, thinking less selfishly, I think the main reason why mentoring is good is that you're actually helping someone else become more successful. You know, you're helping someone else sort of achieve their professional goals as a consultant. You know, if you work in an organization where you've got younger consultants around you, and let's say they're really intelligent and they've got the right attitude, but perhaps they need to develop in certain areas. Maybe they need to learn how to use Excel to run a certain type of analysis. Maybe you're working with different types of stakeholders, and you're in the field of communications and public relations. being able to convey how to craft messaging is something that you obviously develop over time, but to be able to mentor someone to, do that to a degree where they're proficient and they're able to deliver a consistent work product, not only does it help you achieve what you need to achieve, but it actually helps them, and it allows you to sort of leverage all of the things that you've been privy to and lucky enough to learn through your career as a professional, but you're able to bring someone else along on that journey. And I think by doing that, you're able to multiply the effect and the leverage that you have with your clients, with your community, and for your organization, and for your business if you run a business. So guys, those are the 5 ways that you can become a better consultant. Thank you so much for sticking through to the end of this video. Just to recap, guys, the 5 ways you can become a better consultant. Okay, so we've talked about being more organized. Okay, we talked about being more attuned to your clients' needs. We've talked about sharpening up your technical skills. Okay, we talked about working on your relationships with your clients and those around you. And finally, we talked about becoming a better consultant by giving back and mentoring others. And these are only 5 ways, guys, you can become a better consultant. There are so many other ways. By no means is this a comprehensive sort of listing of how you can become a better consultant. I will say that I'll do a more sort of detailed deep dive into this topic over on my blog at lifesuccessfactors.com. So if you're interested in learning more about how to become a better consultant, then I'd encourage you to go and check out my blog. As a professional consultant, guys, I've learned a lot over my years as a consultant, as an advisor, a trusted advisor to many different companies and organizations and leaders. I truly think that there are ways that you can help them and obviously get some really good outcomes for yourself through improving yourself, but also sort of focusing more externally on others. Really those are the things that can really help you become a better person, but also a better consultant. So I'd encourage you to go and check out lifesuccessfactors.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube. And also leave me a review down below if you're listening on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app. I'd really appreciate it if you also left me a like, so smash that like button, guys. And also leave me a comment. Did you agree with these 5 things that I talked about today? Is there something else that you can recommend to others if you're a consultant, if you're a more seasoned consultant? What are the things you think that I can be doing better? Or what are the things you've found work really well for you? I'm sure everyone who's watching this video, guys, will be really interested. So leave your comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let others know about how they can become a better consultant. And guys, until next time, I wish you every success in every area of your life. Keep safe. I know that these are trying times at the moment, but take this opportunity to become an absolutely amazing version of yourself. Okay, as you can tell, I'm an optimist, and I like to see things as sort of the glass half full. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know down below what you thought about it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.